Are you watching this woman? Yes, this woman. She got married just 15 days ago, and then she did something so horrifying, so unimaginable. She had her own husband murdered. That's right, she didn't kill him herself. She planned it, she arranged it, and in just a few days, she made sure her husband was brutally killed. Why? What could drive someone to betray and destroy the very person they just married? The way it happened, so calculated, so brutal, it will leave you shocked. This woman is pure evil, cold, ruthless, evil. This case comes from India, and today we're going to uncover the disturbing truth behind this story. A case built on lies, manipulation, and murder. This disturbing case took place in Auraiya, a small district located in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, roughly 200 kilometers, about 125 miles southeast of New Delhi, the capital of India. 21-year-old Dilip Yadav, a native of Nagladeepa village in Auraiya district, Uttar Pradesh, was building a promising future. Along with his three brothers, Sandeep, Akshay, and Sachin, Dilip was helping expand the family's successful hydrocrane business, originally started by their father, Sumer Singh Yadav. The Yadav family owned 12 hydro machines and 10 cranes, operating across 4 districts in Uttar Pradesh. Financially secure and socially respected, the family was now preparing for a new celebration, a wedding. On March 5th, 2025, Dilip was set to marry Pragati Yadav, a young woman from Fapund. Pragati, who had completed her education up to 12th grade, wasn't just anyone. She was the sister-in-law of Dilip's elder brother Sandeep and had been in a romantic relationship with Dilip for 3 years. However, convincing the family wasn't easy. At first, Dilip's parents had no idea about the relationship. They had already started searching for a bride from another family, unaware of his love story. When they finally learned about Pragati and Dilip, they opposed the match, citing a common cultural concern. They didn't want 2 daughters from the same household marrying into their family. But Pragati had made it clear if she were to marry, it would be Dilip or no one. And Dilip, equally determined, stood by her. Eventually, moved by the couple's commitment, the family relented. And so, on March 5, the two were married in a traditional Hindu ceremony. The first few days of their married life were full of joy. Pragati, with her gentle nature and warmth, won over everyone in the family in just 3 days. Happiness filled the household. But behind the smiles, fate was quietly preparing a tragedy no one could foresee. As per custom, on the 4th day after the wedding, March 9, Pragati returned to her parental home. Meanwhile, Dilip stayed back to celebrate Holi with his family. On March 19, he resumed work and left for Bela village on business. After completing his tasks, he called both his brother and his wife Pragati to let them know he was heading home. But that journey home would become his last. Around the same time, near Palia village, 2 villagers stumbled upon a man lying in a wheat field, badly beaten and on the verge of death. Terrified, they initially ran away, thinking he was dead. Later, they returned with more villagers and informed the police. The police arrived with an ambulance. When medical staff examined the man, they found that he was still breathing. Without wasting time, they rushed him to the hospital for emergency treatment. As the investigation began, a phone rang in the man's pocket. When the police answered it, they found the call was from none other than Dilip's family, who were desperately trying to reach him. What they discovered in the hospital shattered them. Dilip had suffered severe head injuries and had also been shot. At first, police thought it could be a case of road rage or an accident, but the discovery of a bullet wound changed everything. It was now clearly a planned murder. The police asked Dilip's family if he had any enemies or disputes. They said no. Dilip was a peaceful, soft-spoken man who focused only on his work. He had no known feuds or conflicts. While they were still grappling with the shock, Dilip succumbed to his injuries on March 21, just 2 days after the attack. Her tears and pain touched everyone. She had vowed to spend a lifetime with Dilip, and now she had lost him within days. The post-mortem report revealed the brutality of the assault. Dilip had been savagely beaten and then shot at close range. Based on preliminary findings, the police concluded that the attack occurred somewhere between Bela and Dibiapur. To track the exact location and culprits, They activated Operation Trinetra, a surveillance system launched by the UP government. Under this initiative, thousands of CCTV cameras had been installed at high-risk zones, highways, dark spots, and strategic points, all monitored through a central control room. Police began scanning the route from Bela to Dilip's home, cross-referencing the timestamp of his last phone call to his brother. And then came the breakthrough. One of the cameras near Paulia village showed Dilip on a motorcycle, accompanied by two men. The footage stunned investigators. One of those men was identified as Ramji Nagar, a known criminal and history sex cheater, recently out on bail and linked to multiple violent crimes. Why was a man like Dilip traveling with someone so dangerous? Police immediately tracked down and arrested Ramji Nagar. Initially, he denied everything, but under sustained interrogation, he finally confessed he had been hired to kill Dilip. The contract had come from a man named Anurag Yadav. This name meant nothing to Dilip's family. None of them had ever heard of him. Suspicious and shocked, the police launched a manhunt and eventually arrested Anurag. But the case took an even darker turn after that. When police visited Dilip's grieving home to ask further questions, they requested to speak with Pragati, his widow. The family assumed it was routine questioning, but suddenly, female constables took Pragati into custody. The family and villagers were outraged. They blocked the officers and demanded to know why she was being taken away like a criminal. Then came a revelation no one could have imagined. The police announced that Pragati Yadav, Dilip's wife, was involved in the murder plot. The woman they had embraced into their family, who had wept at her husband's death, had allegedly conspired to have him killed. Shock turned into horror. Their world, already shattered by the death of a son, collapsed further under the weight of betrayal from within their own home. It was beyond everyone's understanding. How could Pragati, who had been in a relationship with Dilip for 3 years and who had insisted on marrying him against everyone's wishes just 15 days ago to begin a new life, be the one who had him brutally murdered? But the reason behind this deadly game of Pragati's, once it came to light, revealed how, in today's time, people disguised as lovers have turned love into nothing more than a tool of greed, a ruthless game played to satisfy their selfish desires. To truly understand this case, we need to go back to the year 2020. In 2020, Pragati was living in Fafunda, and just 100 meters from her house lived Anurag Yadav. Anurag, 29 years old, had completed his BSc from Jinjak and was now living in the village. He had no job or career, but he put on a flashy show of living a luxurious life, wearing branded clothes and shoes, roaming around the village in expensive cars, traveling by flight, staying in lavish hotels. Anurag created an illusion of a high-class lifestyle. But in reality, he didn't even own a bike. He often had to drive a tractor to make ends meet. All this showboating was funded by money borrowed from friends and relatives. Pragati, impressed by this fake display of wealth, started getting attracted to him. One day, while Pragati was out tending to the animals, Anuruchi seized the opportunity. He wrote his number on a small paper and secretly passed it to her, asking her to call him. Since Pragati didn't have her own phone, she would call Anurag from her father's phone after everyone went to sleep. This continued for many days. Their late-night phone conversations soon turned into secret meetings. Pragati often visited her aunt's house near the city of Auraiya, along with her mother. From there, she would make an excuse to go to the Sai temple, but instead she would meet up with Anurag. They would always meet at the same hotel. Their love affair intensified, and at Pragati's request, Anurag even changed his real name from Manuj Narayan to Anurag Yadav. Initially, their families had no idea about this relationship, but it didn't take long before the truth came out. Pragati's family didn't accept the relationship, but Pragati was obsessed with marrying Anura. This led to frequent arguments with her family. Her obsession reached such a level that to scare her family, she even cut her own veins. The dreams that Anurag sold her, the illusion of a luxurious lifestyle, Pragati believed them completely. She truly thought life with him would be like a fairy tale, but that wasn't the only reason behind her obsession. Her elder sister Parul had married into a millionaire family in 2019. Pragati would see her sister living a life full of luxuries and all the comforts money could buy. This comparison, along with Anurag's sugar-coated promises, fueled Pragati's desire to live a life of grandeur. But Pragati also knew one thing very clearly. Because of the family feud, she could never marry Anirudh. And even if she somehow did, Anirudh could never give her the lifestyle she dreamed of because he simply wasn't that wealthy. Pragati's dreams were far too big. She didn't just want to dream them. She wanted to live them. And for that, she was about to plant a dangerous seed in Anurag's mind. A seed of greed and brutality that could help turn her ambitions into reality. In 2022, Pragati's sister Parul was married into a financially strong family. The younger son of that family, Dilip, was unmarried. Since Pragati would often visit her sister's in-laws, she also frequently ran into Dilip, who would also visit his sister-in-law's family. During these visits, Pragati and Dilip started interacting more. That's when Dilip began to look like the perfect target to Pragati. She carefully laid out her plan. First, she befriended Dilip. Then, she started increasing her proximity to him under the guise of regular meetups. Dilip fell right into her trap. Hiding her true intentions, Pragati continued this act of love, not for weeks or months, but for 3 whole years. Shockingly, during this fake romance, she even introduced Dilip to Anurag, and not only introduced them, but also made them friends. Dilip had no clue that the man being introduced to him as a friend was actually Pragati's secret lover. Together, Anurag and Pragati were playing a sinister game. While Pragati pretended to love Dilip, she continued her intimate relationship with Anurag behind his back. According to the plan, Pragati convinced Dilip that she deeply loved him and couldn't live without him. Unfortunately, Dilip fell for this web of lies. He even went against his family's wishes, insisting he would only marry Pragati. It's heartbreaking. On one side, this young man was fighting his own family for love, and on the other side, this cunning woman was plotting his death behind his back. Half her plan was successful when, after much resistance, Dilip's family agreed to the marriage, and the two got married. This woman was so manipulative. She completely hid her true self behind a smiling face, winning over Dilip's family while secretly planning his murder. After all the wedding rituals, Pragati returned to her parents' house, but the real reason for her return was her desperation to meet Anurag. On March 17th, Pragati went back to the same hotel where she always met Anurag. She was sitting in that hotel planning the final execution of her deadly plan. From the very beginning, Pragati's intention was to trap Dilip in a web of love and then have him killed. She was doing all of this because she wanted to inherit Dilip's wealth. Her plan was to kill Dilip and then use that money to live a life of luxury with Anurag. So now she started devising a plan. How to get Dilip killed in such a way that no suspicion would fall on her or Anurag. To execute the murder, Anurag brought his cousin Dilip Yadav into the plan. Durla had a background of violence and criminal activity. After understanding the whole situation, Durla hired his associate, a known history sheikher named Ramji Nagar, and Ramji Nagar agreed to kill Dilip for a contract amount of 2 lakh rupees, 1 lakh to be paid before the job and 1 lakh after it was done. But the problem was that Anurag and Pragati didn't have that kind of money. So Pragati came up with a plan. She quietly kept 70,000 rupees that she had received as a wedding gift. For the remaining 30,000, she asked Dilip himself. Unaware of his bride's dark intentions, Dilip had no clue that his own money was being used to plan his murder. On one side, Pragati had managed to arrange the first 1 lakh. On the other, Anurag got busy collecting the remaining amount. And once the full payment for the murder contract was ready, the conspiracy now included 5 people: Anurag, Pragati, Dilip Yadav, the history sheeter Ramji Nagar, and his friend Shivam Yadav. Now, all of them were just waiting for the right moment, waiting for the day Dilip would leave for work so they could kill him in such a way that it looked like an accident rather than a murder. On 19th March 2025, before returning from Bella Village, Dilip made a phone call to Pragati. The moment she got the call, she informed Anurag about Dilip's exact location. Anurag took Ramji Nagar, Durlab, and Shivam to that location to point out who Dilip was, and then left from there. After that, the 3 men began following Dilip, which was clearly visible in the CCTV footage. Following him for some distance, they managed to stop his Hydra vehicle in a deserted area. They pretended that their car had broken down and asked him for help. Dilip, unaware of their real motives, Dilip said he could assist them and asked them to show him where their car was. Instead, they took him to a wheat field in Palia village. Meanwhile, Shivam arrived there on another bike. Looking around the field, Dilip was confused, as he couldn't see any car in sight. Before he could make sense of the situation, all three of them suddenly attacked him. First, they began beating him mercilessly. Then they hit him multiple times on the head with the butt of a gun. In a fit of rage, Durlap shot Dilip in the back of the head with a desi kata, a country-made pistol. Assuming he was dead, the trio left his body in the wheat field and fled from the scene. So the bullet from the DO-315 bore didn't kill Dilip instantly. What actually caused his death were the head injuries and skull fractures that damaged his brain. After battling for his life for 2 days in the hospital, Dilip succumbed to his injuries. According to Pragati and Anurag, they thought their plan had been executed flawlessly. Currently, all 5 accused are charged under Section 103 of the BNS, Punishment for Murder. Section 61 to Criminal Conspiracy. Section 35. If proven guilty, they could face either the death penalty or life imprisonment. But as I always say, what actually happens will be determined by time, because this case once again shows how our justice system often grants bail to even the most dangerous criminals, and once they're out, they don't hesitate to take another life. It's probably because of this very system that criminals today are fearless. They know that even after committing murder, they can still get out on bail. The way Pragati and Anurag committed this crime, it felt as if they had no fear of the law whatsoever. In fact, the truth is, Pragati never even loved Anurag. What she loved was the fake, luxurious life he portrayed, which attracted her in the first place. She wanted to live that fantasy life in reality. But Anurag wasn't any less guilty. He was a man who wanted a lavish life without working for it, a man who lived off other people's money. And in the end, this case once again proved that when love is mixed with greed, it doesn't just break hearts, it destroys entire lives. They say when love becomes a deal, relationships turn into a marketplace. Thank you from the heart for all your love and support. And please, don't forget to subscribe to support our work.